And the talk shop continues in Studio 255 in the Laramie Plains Civic Center this morning. Top of the hour, Brett Glass and your City of Laramie City Council agenda preview for this week. Brett.
Yes, good morning, Eric, and good morning, Laramie. This is your preview of the agenda for the City Council regular meeting, which will occur in Laramie City Hall in the Council Chambers at 406 Ivinson Avenue on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. The meeting will be at 6:30 p.m. with a pre-meeting in which items will be assigned to various council members at 6:15 p.m. You can attend the meeting in person by going to 406 Ivinson Avenue, or you can watch it on YouTube by going to Laramie City Government on YouTube, or you can watch it on Zoom. And the way to find the Zoom link is to go to the Laramie website, the city website, and go to cityoflaramie.org/agenda center. There you will find the City Council agendas, and you can find the agenda for this week's meeting, Tuesday, November 18th. And inside the agenda, at the very bottom of the preamble to the agenda, you will see a link which goes to Zoom. And if you have Zoom installed on your computer, you can watch the meeting and you can even participate. You can even raise your hand and comment during periods when the public is allowed to comment. So in any case, this is what the City Council will be doing on Tuesday of this week. They'll call the meeting to order, have the Pledge of Allegiance and the roll call as usual, and then they will have a public comment period when you can bend their ear for 3 minutes about any topic you'd like that's not on their agenda. Is a limit of 3 minutes, which means that maybe you won't get to say everything you want to say. You may want to email them if you have something lengthy to say, but you can get at least 3 minutes when you are speaking to all of council. Then there will be proclamations and presentations, and there will be a proclamation proclaiming Small Business Saturday, which of course is the Saturday after Black Friday, when you're encouraged to shop locally instead of spending your money online or with out-of-state businesses. After that, there will be a public hearing. And the public hearing will be on resolution number 2025-87, which certifies a request to amend the future land use map of the 2007 Laramie Comprehensive Plan. That's a lot of verbiage. What does it mean? What it means is that the city is looking to rezone a parcel, which we'll talk a little more about a little bit later, alongside Snowy Range Road, by the river, right near the intersection of Garfield Street and Snowy Range Road. And in order to do that, they have to amend the future land use map to conform to that zoning. And so they're going to have a public hearing about that, talking about the future use of that property and about its rezoning. After that, after the public hearing, there will be announcements, and they will recognize a staff member of the Laramie City Government that they want to honor. And the person that they're going to be honoring is Lynn Trujillo, who is the records supervisor for LARC, the records center, which sits next to City Hall. After that, there will be disclosures of conflicts of interest, and then the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a list of items which the City Council approves with no discussion. And there's a long list of items, most of them not controversial, or they would have been removed from the consent agenda. Things such as minutes from boards and commissions, cemetery deeds, contracts, appointments to boards and commissions, and the use of liquor licenses, and the scheduling of meetings. And there are some couple of meetings of interest on the schedule there. They want to schedule a work session on November 25th for truck noise and the noise ordinance and enforcing the noise ordinance. That same evening, November 25th, there were also two other topics proposed. One is on downtown parking limits, whether 2 hours is sufficient, and also on community partner return on investment results. And I'm very interested in that one because we give a lot of money to the organizations that are designated as community partners, and there's some question as to whether we're getting our money's worth hiring these organizations to do work for the city. In any case, after the consent agenda is approved, we'll move on to the regular agenda. And the first item on the regular agenda harks back to the public hearing, which I mentioned earlier, in which the council will certify a request to amend the future land use map, again, to allow the rezoning of a property along Snowy Range Road. There's a technical memo which is very interesting in the and worth reading if you're interested in this topic. On the city website, you can find the link in the agenda, which talks about the pros and cons of rezoning, the history behind all of that, the concerns about floodwater and potential pollution. This is worth a read, and definitely of concern to the public. The proposal is to rezone this property along Snowy Range Road right next to the river from I-2, which is an industrial zoning, to R3 for multifamily residential zoning. There are concerns about doing this because, well, if you suddenly build multifamily housing with a big parking lot right next to the river, there's some concern that every little bit of oil that leaks out of a vehicle might land in the river potentially. And as many people know, the Laramie River is a tributary of the Platte River, which in turn is a tributary of the Missouri and Mississippi rivers, so there's concern about pollution. There's also concern by the neighbors on the west side of Laramie about any development going on this plot not fitting with the rest of the neighborhood that adjoins it. So there'll be a lot of discussion about that. I'm sure there's bound to be public comment. After that, item number 12 on the agenda is original ordinance number 2112, which amends the city of Laramie's official zoning map for the parcel in question. And so this is really the same item. They're two different actions by council. One is a resolution, the other is an ordinance, but they're both necessary in order to do the rezoning. So again, this is something where the public is going to comment. We heard some comments at the last meeting of council about possibly zoning the property R2 rather than R3 to be more consistent with the zoning on the west side. And we'll see if council takes any action on that one. After that, let's see, next item on the agenda is letter of support for a low-income housing tax credit project, La Bonte Square 1 and 2. This is the project which the city is doing along 4th Street. The old city shops, which have now been abandoned because the city has established a new facility north of town. Council has aspired to develop a mixed-use housing and commercial development on that site. And the developer wants to make some of the housing there subsidized low-income housing. In order for that to happen, the council has to provide a letter of support, which goes to WCDA and from there to the federal government approving the project. And this would this item would approve issuing the letter of support. Now, some of the low-income tax credit housing that we have in Laramie is sort of a scam because students who are not working and sometimes their spouses who come along with them are foregoing income in order to go back to school or to go to school in the first place, and therefore qualify as low income. Low-income housing is not supposed to be student housing, but there are loopholes in the rules, and they can do that. And so, in many cases, developers have built student housing projects under the guise of being low-income housing for the rest of us. However, La Bonte Square, being on North 4th Street and fairly far from campus, is less likely to be this sort of a shady enterprise. And so of all the projects we've seen lately, this one is probably more worthy of approval than some of the others that we've seen. I expect the council will approve this one because, again, as I've said in previous in previous installments, they're very interested in developing more housing, especially workforce housing. Maybe this will help a little. So I expect that this will pass with maybe only a little discussion. Item number 14 on the agenda amends Laramie Municipal Code Chapter 15.24, and it says that it is clarifying language related to general contractor licensing. What's this about? Well, the language that's currently on the books for the city's general contractor licensing regime is a little bit unclear about what kind of experience you have to be licensed as a general contractor. Do you need to have experience as a general contractor, or do you need to have experience with a different kind of contractor, or as a different kind of contractor, working with general contractors and seeing what they do and maybe aspiring to expand your business and become a general contractor yourself? Well, what this would do is tighten the restrictions so that just because you worked with general contractors, you don't necessarily have the experience to become one. And my personal opinion of this is not a good thing. Businesses should be able to expand. They should be able to enter new lines of business. We have a shortage of general contractors in Laramie, and this is raising the cost of housing. It's raising the cost of repairs and renovations and other things that general contractors do. And a contractor who works with general contractors probably has a pretty good idea of what that general contractor is doing and should be able, if they pass all the tests, to expand their business. So my personal opinion is the council should not pass this. It's moved to third reading and it's not on the consent agenda, so there's going to be some discussion. Don't know what will happen there, but I think that it's worthy of discussion and worthy of public comment because we should think really, really hard about limiting the supply of contractors when we have such a shortage of them in Laramie. Okay, item number 15 on the agenda, creating a 2026 street rehabilitation project and appropriating the funds for that. Well, I'd say probably the number one complaint, certainly one of the top complaints that residents have about city government is that it hasn't maintained our streets well enough. And so this item approves a plan for doing maintenance on certain streets. And if you look on the agenda and you click on one of the links, you can get a map, which I have here, which talks about where the renovations would be and who would pay for them. And, Grand Avenue from 30th all the way out to I-80 is scheduled to be renovated. Unfortunately, that's going to be done by YDOT, and so YDOT will pay for that. Other streets that will be rehabilitated include 4th Street from Ivinson to Flint, Skyline from Highway 287 all the way out to 15th Street, and yes, that is sort of run down and definitely in need of renovation. North McHugh Street, going up to Curtis Street. Ivinson Avenue from 3rd to 6th. The rest has already been repaved. Apparently, the city wants to repave the stretch which goes right by City Hall. South Colorado Avenue near Wyotech. They're talking about repairing that. And there's a long list, and I could go on, but these are all areas which really do need rehabilitation. And it all looks good, except there's one stretch that I do have some questions about, and that is Snowy Range Road from Adams Street, which is right by the I-80 interchange, all the way out to Schrader. It says that this is going to be funded by the city's water fund. And the question I have about this is that Snowy Range Road is a state highway. If it's a state highway, shouldn't the state be paying for the renovation of the road or the improvements to the road rather than the city? And so this would be coming out of city funds that could be used for other things. I think there ought to be at least a question raised: why is YDOT not paying for that renovation? But otherwise, the plan looks good. I'd say that council definitely should approve the resolution, maybe with some discussion of offloading some of the funding again to the state. Next comes item 16 on the agenda, which is a resolution to extend the suspension of the surface water management program for another 6 months until next June, and actually the end of next June. And my personal opinion of this is that it's a good thing to do. We really don't know what's going to happen right now with the lawsuit that UW has filed against the city, claiming that the entire program needs to be restructured because it's not legal. We haven't. If you looked at the last work session, council is still debating what to do about funding it and how much different entities should pay.
107 days into the 120-day pause, Brett.
That's right. And after all this time, there really isn't a solid proposal on the table yet. So
nothing that's been presented to the people.
Well, I don't know. I personally have made a proposal that that capping the rates per property is not a fair solution, because what it does is it transfers the burden from the largest landowners to the rest of us.
Isn't that what America calls benefiting the rich?
Well, it definitely would benefit rich entities, and it doesn't do anything to reduce the burden on those of us who can least afford to pay, especially people on fixed incomes. People who are renting and have the surface water tax passed on to them by their landlords, because the money has to come from somewhere. And so I think there needs to be more discussion of the financing. I also think that the financing, according to state law, there's supposed to be an election where the county approves it. The council is disputing that it needs to do this, and the lawsuit's going to resolve the question, so we should probably wait until the lawsuit gets a little farther, or there's a judgment in the lawsuit, so that we even know what the legal requirements are about that. And all of these controversies regarding surface water drainage are going to also arise in other cities, in particular in Cheyenne. Cheyenne is planning to start billing its residents for surface water drainage starting January 1st. And so rather than trying to figure out all the logistics and what's legal and what's not legal ourselves and spending a lot of money doing it and maybe having to backtrack, we can let Cheyenne be the test case for this surface water drainage program and how it's funded and everything else. I think we should do that, and postponing until next June allows us the opportunity to offload that responsibility to a city which has got much more money and otherwise is better situated to have the discussion. So I would say that this resolution should be approved. I'm hoping that it's approved, and I'm hoping that it's approved unanimously, so that we can watch Cheyenne's experience and learn from it, and also learn from the lawsuit what we actually need to do legally. So anyway, that's the end of the regular agenda, except for another public comment period at the end and consideration of future council work session topics. I've already mentioned the November 25th work session, which is the one that will pretty much be set in stone as of this meeting. There's a list of the other topics, if you're interested, at the end of the agenda on the City Council website. And so, City Council has a lot on its plate this week, but the items are important. They do affect our quality of life and our finances here in Laramie, so it's really important for the public to review this, comment on it, and watch the meeting and see what happens.
Thank you, Brett. This concludes the City of Laramie City Council Agenda Preview by Brett Glass on The Talk Shop in Studio 255. I'm Eric Henderson, and I think Chano's Village, 513 Boswell Drive for their support, and I-80 Towing and Automotive Services located at 3830 Cherrywood Loop East. And those fine folks at Laramie Range Ford, 3609 Grand Avenue. Remember, this Thursday is their gratitude banquet. It's the 4th annual gratitude banquet, and they are honoring those in the military, EMT services, public safety officers, fire, police, and so forth throughout our community. And a good effort will go into its 4th edition this Thursday night, 5 p.m., 3609 Grand Avenue.